Welcome in. I'm Colette Whelan. Thank you so much for being here with us. You are tuned in to a newer segment here on our Late Talkers Journey channel called Late Talkers Interview with the Experts. Today's expert is an assistant professor at Vanderbilt University here in Nashville, Tennessee. She's also the co-director at Vanderbilt's Music Cognition Lab. Please welcome Miriam Lenz. Hi there, Miriam. How are you?
Hi, it's great to be here. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. We appreciate your time. I first off want to know, what is the Music Cognition Lab at Vandy?
Yeah, so we are an interdisciplinary research hub that studies the science of music and health. We do everything looking at how we can understand how music can support individuals, in particular with language and communication and social challenges.
Is there a particular challenge that you focus on?
Our lab overall covers a whole lot of grounds, but I'm a clinical psychologist is my background, and my research and my clinical practice really focuses on children with autism and children with language and social communication challenges.
So how does studying the rhythm and the timing of social interaction benefit late talking children?
I like to say we study in our lab and in my team in the lab, we look at everything from sort of the rhythm and music of our everyday interactions. So if you think about it, we're having a back and forth conversation right now. There's rhythm and there's timing to that. And so studying rhythm and timing skills actually helps us understand many aspects of language, many aspects of social communication, how we have these back and forth conversations, how we know what words to stress when we're talking to emphasize certain things, what we call the prosody of our language. And then also we do work that looks at, well, what are the effects of making music, of singing to your child, or of drumming together with your child on then other types of social interaction and communication, because we know that music and language and communication are actually very tightly linked.
So at what age do you start focusing on this rhythm, the language? Is it from birth, or are we talking more toddlerhood?
Well, we are exposed to rhythms beginning prenatally, so that developing fetus is getting rhythm. It's one of the sort of signals that is actually most apparent to a developing fetus is sort of the rhythm. So there are studies that show that right away when newborns are born, they are sensitive to the rhythmic structure of the language that their mother has been speaking and they've been receiving in utero. Our work in particular focuses on the infancy, toddler to preschool period, but the field of music cognition and music and language really has studies all the way from the prenatal period through old age, looking at how music and language are connected.
Specifically thinking about the impact of your research on those who have, developmental delays. What are the most interesting things that you found?
One of the reasons we like to study music a lot is because music is all around us, and it's a very motivating and enjoyable and also very accessible platform. So many families use music with their children, right? They sing songs, they do games together, and first of all, that can just be super fun and a great way to engage. And that is a wonderful thing to do. But also when you're doing those things, you can be providing your child with really language rich information in which you're really emphasizing aspects of the rhythmic structure, aspects of the sounds that you're using. And all of those things help to tune a child's brain in to what we say, like the acoustic, the sound environment around them. And that includes the language and the sounds that we're hearing. So in some of my favorite studies that we've done has actually been also looking at how singing and making music with a child also shapes a parent's behavior. And so we know that doing things like following your child's lead, repeating, the sounds that they make are really good ways to promote a child's language and communication. And we find that parents do a lot of those things automatically when they play musical games with their child. So it's a really natural way to kind of support those types of what we would say positive parenting techniques that we know are sort of language promoting or language increasing practices.
When you think about big picture, why should people care about this research? Really, why does it matter?
Well, music is part of who we are as humans, right? Societies all around the world and for eons and eons of time had made music. So this is kind of a really essential part of who we are as humans, and it's an essential part of how we interact and connect with each other. When we think about early development, child development, that social relationship is so pivotal to supporting a child's development. Including, of course, their language and communication skills. And so using music is a way that we connect with each other and bond with each other while also supporting many different ways of communicating with each other. Our language, with little kids, we do a lot of gestures in song and a lot of facial expressions, and all of those parts of the signal are going to support a child's communication and child's language.
Can you tell me what is infant directed song and speech and why is that important or relevant?
Yeah. So when we're talking to each other the way we are now, and we're two adults having a conversation, so we're doing what's adult directed speech. I'm modulating my speech in a way that meets the audience, meets you. And so I'm speaking with certain tempo, I'm speaking with a certain rhythmic pattern, with certain pitch patterns. And what happens with infant directed speech is we kind of crank the dial on all of those things to make them really designed to support the capacities that an infant or a young child has to pay attention. So when we talk to an infant, we get slower. We tend to get even more rhythmic and more predictable. We'll use these really exaggerated pitch patterns that help to get a child's attention. And so all of those types of features that we do in speech, in infant-directed speech, are designed to promote a child's attention and to help them segment and parse the language signal so they can be learning the words that we're doing. Infant-directed song then sort of pushes it even further. And that's the way we sing to infants. And that's that very exaggerated, often kind of stereotype ways. If you think about Wheels on the Bus or Itsy Bitsy Spider, they have these really clear rhythmic patterns with a really clear beat, which makes them very predictable. So if you take a moment and sort of sing Wheels on the Bus to yourself, you can kind of think, okay, yeah, I'm going to maybe rock or tap my foot or clap my hands on that really predictable beat structure. And that helps a child really tune in and pay attention to all of the important information that you're giving them. So infant-directed speech captures a child's attention, maintains a child's attention. Infant-directed song is actually even more effective than infant-directed speech at maintaining infants and young children's attention. So if you sing to your infant, they'll often really look at you and really engage at you, and they're really processing that signal. So there are really powerful ways to engage with a child and support that interaction and communication.
So is there a benefit with an older late talking child, maybe someone who's 4, 5, 6, to still keep that sing-songy rhythmic pattern of speech that you're talking about with the infants? Should that carry on for late talkers?
Yeah, that can definitely be a helpful thing to do. And one of the things that we find is that people will naturally change or adapt how they're speaking based on the feedback and the signals they're getting from the child in front of them. So if you have a child, for example, who needs more processing time, for example, doing that, slowing down, making things more rhythmically predictable can help a child pay attention and process that information. And then, songs also, they're really just great ways to kind of get paired with memory and activities and routines. So if you think about going into a preschool classroom and you tell all the kids to clean up, they may not do it. But if you start singing the sort of canonical cleanup song, everybody knows, oh, I'm supposed to clean up. This is what's expected. I associate this song with this activity. I can process the words in this song because we're using short words. We're repeating them in a very predictable rhythmic structure. Now I know what to do. And so that's one of the reasons why we use songs and musical games with preschool age children, even early elementary school, because it is such a great way to support children's learning.
Oh, you just reminded me, one of my children going through first grade, the first poem that she had to memorize, she came up with a sing-songy way to do it that helped her learn the entire poem.
Yeah. And so we really see that it's very helpful because it provides, I know I'm being repetitive, but actually that's a little bit part of the point, is that songs allow us to do these really repetitive things, which actually means we're getting a lot of practice, which is what learning is about, is having that kind of repeated practice. And doing that in songs and doing it in music, we know that it really helps our brains process that information. It also makes it more fun. And when you're working with young children, quite frankly, across the age span, we should all be, if we can find a way to make things more fun, we all enjoy learning them more. But certainly when you're working with young children, having it be fun and engaging and motivating is going to make them, more willing to engage in these practices and kind of do the work, while also kind of making it less work. It's less effortful because of the predictability and because of the structure that the song or music provides. It makes it easier for our brains to track the information.
Can you share a specific example of what musical-based intervention might look like?
Yeah, so there is a whole host of music-based interventions, and they vary. And there's a lot of different kind of schools of thought. So I can give a couple of different examples. So for example, in some, there's a type of music intervention called auditory motor mapping training, or AMMT. And in that, which is used often with children who are pretty minimally verbal, who will work on saying songs and saying words in what we call intoned way. So it's based on something called melodic intonation therapy, which is used with older individuals. You would kind of sing a word with kind of very clear pitches and very clear rhythmic structure. And you would pair that actually with hand movements, often on different pitched drums that kind of match along. And the idea is that you're making things very simple, very short, and very predictable. It relates also to how our brains are sort of processing information from our mouths together with, our hands in terms of those movements. In other types of therapy, so in one of the therapies we do actually in a study in our lab, it's based off of a therapy called reciprocal imitation training. And in reciprocal imitation training, you support children's imitation skills and play skills and language skills, because we know all of those things tend to develop together. All of those things are related. And what you do in that therapy is you really follow a child's lead by imitating them, and describing, using nice, simple words to describe what they're doing. And then you introduce new ideas for them to do in their play and new words to use. And what we do is we do this music version of it called music enhanced reciprocal imitation training. And what we do is we do it all through singing. So if a child is playing with bubbles, we might sing bubbles, bubbles. We might write a little song about it. And so we're giving them words to use. And then maybe we'll introduce something new to do, like blow the bubbles, and pause and see if that kind of gets their attention to kind of do the act. Maybe they'll copy us in blowing the bubbles, or run through the bubbles and run through the bubbles at the time. So you're making it a really fun game to do, but by doing it through song, you're helping the child kind of really pay attention to what you're doing and making it also very fun so they can process the language, but also really enjoy the activity that you're doing.
I was going to say, it sounds like a wonderful way to encourage learning, the music, the actions. It sounds great. Are there things that you would encourage parents to then do at home as well?
Definitely. So we like to say everybody is a musician. So I think, I don't consider myself a vocalist, but I've just sung for you all. And
I thought your voice was beautiful, actually.
Maybe though that can encourage everyone. Oh yeah, if she can sing there, I can sing too. And of course, though, to a young child, the most special voice is the voice of their caregivers, right? The people they're engaging with. So we 100% encourage making music at home with your child. It's really important. Follow your child's lead, so we know that that promotes learning. So see what songs they like, what's catching their attention. So singing to them throughout the day, you can do this in a couple of different ways. You can do what I just did, which is, notice they're doing something and really highlight it by using it in a little bit of a sung way. So you might say, Bubbles, you've got the bubbles. Or you might say, Bubbles, oh, Bubbles, Bubbles, you've got the bubbles. Yeah, I love it. See, you're moving a little bit, right? That happens when we sing. Yeah, it's automatically, we start moving. You might put it right in a song that you like. So maybe your child loves Twinkle Little Star. You might sing Twinkle Little Star, but you might change up the words. Bubbles, bubbles everywhere. Bubbles, bubbles in the air. And you kind of are making it a fun game by singing about what they're doing. And then another great thing to do is to just do music and movement activity games together with your child. So if they like Wheels on the Bus, sing Wheels on the Bus, do the gestures. It's a great way to teach gestures and promote gestures in your communication with your child. Do musical games for all the kind of different like activities of daily living that you have to do, because it just makes it more fun. So we gave the cleanup example before that we use in preschools all the time, but cleaning up at home is always a chore. Use the same cleanup song, at home. If you want to help a child make a transition, we were, as soon as I started singing, right? And I wasn't being particularly jazzy or amazing, but like we start to move, because when we the predictable beat of rhythm actually engages the motor areas of our brain, so it helps us automatically move. So use a song, because you need to get the child from playtime to bath time. Well, sing a song, sing The Ants Go Marching and march along to it. And then, your child's getting language about marching and moving, and you're making it a fun game. And now that can help that transition, because now you can, march to the next destination or the next place you need to go.
Have you developed any sort of curriculum for teachers to implement these things in the classroom and to work with therapists in a similar way? Is this something that you guys are doing at Vanderbilt?
It is. So we have a couple of different programs. We have a study we're doing right now with toddlers on the autism spectrum that uses that music-enhanced reciprocal imitation training program specifically. And that's something we're currently doing. It's based off of a previously designed by Dr. Brooke Ingersoll's reciprocal imitation training. But I think if you're a teacher or someone who is inclined musically, you could 100% see that and know, oh yeah, I see how I can do this with song or with adding musical instruments to kind of make it really engaging. We also have a program called the Serenade Parent-Child Music Class Program, and there are videos about it on YouTube, or if you look on, I don't know if it's okay for like Spotify or your streaming music services. If you look up Vanderbilt Music Cognition Lab, we have, there's a kids album there that has a lot of songs that we find are really good songs for promoting communication, social interaction, sort of positive behavior management with your child. So we have some resources on YouTube and on streaming music services and on our lab's website. And we're also just happy for people to get in touch with us to share all of that.
Miriam, we will put all of those links here as well, because we are happy to share that information. So when people get to listen to your wonderful words, they will also be able to click on those directly from our host site as well. But I do want to give you the opportunity. Is there anything else that you wanted to add or you want families to know?
I think one thing is to just not be scared to make music with your child, or to frankly make music with other people. We know that music is one of the most potent forms of social bonding and social connection. a lot of times we sing to our infants and we don't even realize how much singing and music we're doing. And know that when you can keep adapting that as your child gets older, to use those musical games to promote that connection and support language development. But I think mostly the idea is to really have fun with it. It's okay. It's not about being a professional pianist or violinist or like the next. I'm here in Nashville. It's not about being the next big country music star, right? It's about having fun, meeting your child where they're at. And through doing that, you will be supporting their communication and their language and building that connection.
I get some eye rolls these days when I start belting out some songs. That's where we are in life. I miss the nursery rhymes.
Yes. It's funny. Another thing you can do, just thinking that, so there's a lot of attention on, using book reading to promote language. And so one thing that our families find really helpful often is when you're doing books with young kids, is to really emphasize the rhythm or even sing the song in the book. There are song books, but you can also just make up a song to any book you're reading. But then you can also discuss the song. And as your child gets older and upper elementary, even, teenagehood, right? You can begin, what does that mean? You can think about the lyrics. Sometimes, you can do a lyric analysis to learn words or talk about what that means, or just even sharing songs that are meaningful to you. And then, and what's your favorite song and what makes that meaningful to you? And you can learn new things about a person. So it's true. I mean, I have a teenager and we're not singing nursery rhymes, anymore. But that's the whole adapting and moving. Okay, well, what songs do you like to move? You can even sometimes still get a dance party in. Those moments are brief and behind, as long as they know their friends aren't going to know or something.
Right.
Right?
Miriam, it's such a pleasure to hear from you today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to get to connect. And I'm going to just encourage everyone to keep singing and keep making music in whatever capacity moves you to do so.
I love that advice. And you can leave comments or questions for Miriam on our website. We will make sure that she gets that information. And once again, her information will be listed here on this website. You can also click subscribe to this YouTube channel so you keep getting new information. Hit the bell so you know when it's available. And of course, you can always visit the Late Talkers Foundation website. We so appreciate you being here. We will see you next time.